In about a week, this place where I'm sitting is going to be crawling with grizzly bears. Hidden all around here like little Easter eggs is one of their favorite foods, the whitebark pine cone. And right now, red squirrels are up in the trees working hard to harvest those cones and bring them back to what's called their midden, which is where they cache their cones for the winter. And so my goal over the next couple weeks is to film this whole process and set up high-end camera traps and try to film the bears stealing these cones from the squirrels. Welcome back, guys, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Today's film is a little different in that this is a story I've been working on for nearly 10 years. And in all that time, I still feel like I've just barely scratched the surface because this forest and the animals that live there continue to surprise me. Whitebark pine is the tree that dominates the high elevation landscape here in the Yellowstone ecosystem. You start to see them from about 8,000 feet, and then they form that last line of forest before the alpine zone. It's a very slow growing tree. Many are hundreds or even 1,000 years old. They won't even reach their peak cone production until around the age of 100. And each of their cones is just packed full of large, nutritious seeds. So this right here is really a great example of a whitebark pine. And one of the characteristics that can really just help you identify it quickly is if I just look at a packet of needles here, there's going to be 5 needles in this pack. So at this elevation, a packet of 5 probably means whitebark pine. And this one is really cool because there's a lot of cones that are actually really accessible that I can show you. And I think they're just beautiful. They've got this kind of dark purple and gold tips on the end once they're getting ripe. So that sound is a Clark's nutcracker. And that's definitely the sound that defines this landscape. These guys right now are gonna be all over the whitebark pine zone, harvesting seeds. During the harvest season, this is not a quiet forest. Between Clark's nutcrackers and red squirrels, it's a constant chorus. The squirrels seem to have at least 3 distinct vocalizations. The first is a territorial call. They will do this periodically within the midden, especially if there's an intruder, and always after a nap. The second is a squirrel feud. This is the squeak they make when they're chasing another squirrel off their middens. The third is an alarm call. This is the chirp they make if they see a predator. This is the one I pay closest attention to because it's also the sound they make if a bear is near. And now this is what's called a squirrel's midden. It's basically like the squirrel's home, and this is where it will bring back all of the cones that it collects, and it's gonna bury them in the ground or maybe tuck them under logs in here. And this just total mess of logs and stuff that are all spread out is really from bears coming in year after year and just ripping this place apart looking for those pine cones. What I'd like to do is just spend some time filming the squirrel, and I think it also will be interesting just to see where he is hiding those cones, because that's going to help me decide where to put the camera traps ultimately, because that's where the bears are going to go. I think I might just need to sit still and quiet for a minute to let him get comfortable with me. The squirrels work tirelessly during this season. Up to 80% of their daily activity is spent on harvesting and caching cones. And these giant cones are not easy to handle. If you pick one up, the first thing you'll notice is just how sticky they are. The resin is like getting super glue all over your fingers, and they spend a lot of time just trying to clean it off. Sometimes they bring whole cones back and cache them. Other times they take individual seeds and then bury them one at a time. Each of these cones can have 80 to 100 seeds, and so it's a long process. And over several weeks, they cache thousands of them. Watching them run these routes back and forth, you realize just how incredibly athletic and agile they are. My plan today is to set up camera traps in here, so that way when the bears do arrive, I can hopefully film them raiding all the cones from the squirrels. All right, well, if you guys have watched the channel before, you may know the drill already, but all of these boxes are camera traps. So inside each of them is a Sony a7S III, and then I have a variety of lenses here. So some are like 17 mil, 21 mil, a lot wider, and then some go up to like an 85 mil, which is gonna be more for a close-up shot. I'm gonna start with thinking about where to set the wides. I wanna get at least 1 or 2 shots where you can really see the whole midden, you can kind of take in the whole scene. Okay. Now I'm thinking I want to set up a close-up wide, so that's where you use a wide angle, I think probably a 21 mil here, and you set it up really close to your subject, so it's going to be a really intimate shot. And I think getting digging, like having them kind of like rip through some logs and stuff, maybe even a shot where you can see their claws, would be sweet. And so it seems like a lot of the cones are buried kind of in here, and I'm thinking maybe I'll try to tuck a camera just really low under the log. Okay, now I want to get one camera up in this tree looking down. That's going to be, it's kind of like a squirrel's perspective of the whole thing. One of the last things I want to do in here is set up a light. I've got this homemade softbox here. It's just a plastic container with some layers of diffusion cloth in there, and then I have a light inside. I don't really need to blast this light. It doesn't need to be very bright. In fact, like if you were in here at night and saw it, it would be very similar to moonlight. It's going to be a very subtle light, but just a little splash will go a long way. So the higher the better for the light, so that it kind of feels like moonlight. All right, now I just need to set up this sensor here. And basically what this does is it just kind of surveys the area. It looks for motion based off of heat. So when it sees something like a bear moving, it's going to send a signal to all the cameras and they all start recording. All right, I'm going to get out of here and we'll just let this rest for a week or so, and then we'll come back and check and see what has happened. Real quick, we'll be right back to the film, but I want to say a big thank you to AG1 for sponsoring this one. As the year gets going, I've been thinking a lot about ways I can maintain healthy habits, especially as things get hectic with my upcoming filming schedule. And so I'm always looking for those few simple things I can do that really have an outsized impact on the rest of my health and well-being. And AG1 is certainly one of those things for me. AG1 is a daily health drink that's designed to support gut health and fill in those common nutrient gaps. It's one drink that replaces the need for multivitamins, probiotics, and more. I do it first thing every morning. I just mix 1 scoop with 12 ounces of cold water. If I'm on the go, I bring these travel packs, and it just starts the day off with an easy win, and that satisfying feeling that I've already done something good for my body, no matter what else the day throws at me. For a limited time only, when you head to the link in the description, you get a free AG1 duffel bag and a free AG1 welcome kit with your first subscription order, only while supplies last. So thanks again, AG1, for sponsoring this one. All right, guys, back to the film. Late August is when the harvest really peaks. The cones are mostly ripe, and as the sun warms the resin, they begin to soften a bit, and they release this strong, sweet smell. And I think that's what starts to lure the bears in. Every year, the timing of their arrival is remarkably consistent, like almost to the day. And it goes from 0 to 100. There's no bears, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing 2 or 3 a day. The squirrel always seems caught, between the instinct to defend its midden and its instinct to survive and avoid the bear. The bears use their nose to sniff out the hidden cones, and you can actually hear them doing it. The idea of a grizzly bear, this big apex predator, working so hard for a pine cone seemed crazy to me at first. But when you look at how nutritious the seeds are, it does start to make sense. They're a near perfect food. More than 50% fat, 20% protein. They're one of the most calorie-dense foods in a grizzly's diet. When I started this project, I just wanted to film grizzlies, but as I left the cameras out, they started to uncover a much larger story. It turns out that it's not just bears that frequent these sites, they're really like a microcosm for a whole community of wildlife. Martens visit regularly, they feed on the pine seeds, and they're also known to hunt squirrels, so the squirrel's really cautious when one's around. Then there's the long-tailed weasel. This is the marten's smaller cousin. The squirrel is a lot bolder with these guys. Long-eared owls visit at dusk, sometimes making attempts at the squirrel. It's near constant activity, and it continues all through the night. Snowshoe hare show up just about every night. The porcupine is another nightly visitor who's here for the cones. And bears will show up to dig around the clock. And I've noticed when they disturb the soil, it scatters the deer mice that are burrowing beneath, and then they start showing up on camera, which may further explain the frequent presence of owls and weasels. The more footage I get on these squirrel middens, the more I'm just blown away at how much biodiversity is on these sites. I've now documented over 20 individual species that use them on a regular basis. The whitebark pine squirrel middens are clearly very significant for these wildlife communities. It's impressive. And so it's also very unsettling to watch them become increasingly scarce across the landscape. If you spend any time in these forests, the first thing you notice is just how many trees are dead. Between a major pine beetle outbreak and now a fungus called blister rust that cuts off the flow of nutrients to the tree, they've been hit really hard, and the scale is hard to overstate. We're talking vast landscapes with dead trees as far as you can see. Many areas have over 90% mortality. And all of this creates vast fuel on the forest floor. So when lightning strikes, the kindling's already laid for a fire that burns hot and moves fast. This wildfire in 2024 burned through 90,000 acres before the winter weather knocked it out. The future of the whitebark pine forest is quite uncertain, but its best hope actually lies with those animals who depend on it the most. Unlike other trees, whitebark pine cones don't open up on their own, and so left alone, these trees really have no way to spread. Instead, they rely on their high-value seeds to entice other animals to do that work for them. And so as the Clark's nutcracker and red squirrels harvest and bury seeds by the thousands each season, new trees grow all over the ecosystem from the many seeds they never return for. Filming the squirrel middens has become this thing I look forward to every summer. I think about them all year. It's become a bit of an obsession. I can't wait to set up the cameras and see what's going on. I'm always learning just a little bit more and getting a slightly deeper understanding of the forest. Certainly, one of the things, though, that keeps me hooked is seeing some of the same individuals year after year. There was this one bear that really made an impression on me, and I still think about her on a daily basis. I first got her on camera in 2018. Immediately, she stood out to me. She was missing the front of her right paw. Likely, she was caught in a trap that was set for martens, and to get out, she had to rip her toes off. She had a limp, but she was getting by, and I just wondered if I'd ever see her again. So I'm just kind of easing my way into the tree line here. I always just do this really slow because I want to make sure that there's not a bear in there, obviously, when I go in. All right, let's check this wide angle here. Should give us a good sense of what's going on here. Ooh, is that a cub? Huh, where's mom? Oh, no way. I was speechless. Not only was she still alive, she was raising healthy cubs. I don't often name animals I film, but casually, I referred to her as Paulus, and then one day that morphed into Paula, and Paula stuck. To me, she's a real testament to how resilient the grizzly bear is. And as they're losing one of their most important foods, that resilience and adaptability of the grizzly is going to be key for surviving the many changes that are coming in their environment. I always can sense a change in the air as the squirrels focus more on nest material and less on cones. They gather wads of grass that I imagine is used to insulate their nest cavity. It's a short summer up in the Whitebark pine forest. The squirrels harvest far more cones than they need, and so even after all those visitors, they still have a stockpile to get them through the long winter. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I know this film touched on a couple subjects that some of you may want to learn more about, so first I'll touch on Paula. Paula is not the first bear that I filmed with missing toes, she's actually the second. And while it's not extremely common to see, that's not nothing. And there's a really great research paper out of Canada that looks at this exact issue, and I'm going to link to that for you guys down in the description if you want to learn more. Basically, they're looking at incidents where bears are getting caught in traps that are set for smaller animals like martens. And one of the suggestions that they make is that if you were to delay the trapping season by, say, a month or two until most of the bears had denned up for winter, this problem could be avoided entirely. Now, there is a lot of great work and research being done on whitebark pine conservation, including replanting trees that are genetically resistant to blister rust. And so I'm also going to leave some links to organizations and resources down below if you guys want to learn more about that. All right, well, if you enjoyed this film, please consider dropping a like or hitting that subscribe button, or you can donate to this channel to help keep this series going. As always, thanks so much for the support, guys, and I'll see you next time.